Yeah, that didn't work. That worked. Okay. Still trying to figure out the tools after how long? How many weeks have we been doing this? I should do that math. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Ha! Look at that technology.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Hey.
So, hey everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. My name is Darren. This is Victor over here. And we're the co-host. If you've never heard of us before, we're the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox. We talk about all things DevOps, usually things that aren't DevOps as well. And this live show, we try to do every Friday. The time varies from week to week. Today, it happened to be this time. And if if you're new here today for the very first time, over in the chat, or if you're on mobile, I'm not sure where it's at, go ahead and type new in the chat and let us know that you're here for the first time. We'll do you a shout out here in just a couple of minutes. Actually, we got Alex, we got Dimitru, we got David, everybody else. Thanks for showing up live today. Let's get right into the news for this week. First thing, most important, I have to share a screen first though, because I'm not doing that. So we have a new website. And if you're not in the Slack workspace, go look at the thread that I had with Zarbus. Zarbus says it looks like we're back to the 2000s. And we are.
Yeah, let's say that it's newer than it was.
It is newer than it was. We were hosting on Squarespace, like Squarespace, no problems with it. No, nothing bad against it. I just needed something to play with a little bit more, and I was getting frustrated with some things with Squarespace. Not bad, but just minor frustrations. I figured, okay, hey, if I can do everything in Git, that's what I'm going to do. So we're actually under the hood. It's using Hugo to do site generation, and we're hosting it on Netlify. And we're actually using a theme from the Arrested DevOps people. Matt Stratton, he open sourced it, and we're just using it. Now I've customized it quite a bit, but not hugely. But let me go through a couple of things after I take a sip of water. Now, minor things. Up to this point, we've only been posting podcasts to the website. But now, starting this week, we're going to start posting in the live streams. Get ready for this. Victor, you ready to be scared?
I'm already scared without you saying anything. You're a scary person.
So here's the post from last week's. Yeah, exactly. So this reminds me that we have to come up with something that we do today. We've got to come up with a different way to do a thumbnail because I lifted that out of last week. So this is all primarily about me being lazy, and the templating's a lot better than what I was dealing with on Squarespace. So again, I don't have anything against Squarespace. I just suck as a web designer. I've always been a back-end person. I've never done front-end UI. I mean, tables, that's about as far as I get. So this was close enough, and it'll change over time. But this was a deal for us today. Now, this isn't the big news. Here's the big news of the week. VMware Engine is now GA on Google Cloud. Now, you were the one that sent this over. So why do you think this is that big of a deal?
Oh, it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal because Google, and not only Google, Azure realized the same thing long time before Google. And that thing is that it's not enough to offer companies a better way to do stuff, right? Yep. We all know that cloud is better. It's not really, and that Kubernetes is better than mainframe. We all know that. But that's not really the question. The question is, how do you transition people from point A to point B, right? That's a real difficulty. And from business perspective, being able to run VMware Engine in Google is a big deal, because that means that actually companies can take 3 steps to get, let's say that the destination is GK. And I'm saying that only to put something, right? Companies now can take 3 steps to get there instead of 1 huge, right? That's why it's big. Now, I do not think that anybody's destination should be to run VMware Engine on Google Cloud. I think that that's completely silly. If anybody has that as a roadmap destination, that's just insane. But having that step in between, that makes a lot of sense. So I see a temporary increase in usage of VMware on Google Cloud until people ditch it altogether.
Yep. So to make it simple, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Now, so here was the picture to basically say VMware Engine. That sounds pretty good. 100 gig networking, 99%, 4 nines availability. Why in the world would I want to have my own ESX cluster on-prem? Other than regulations, why would I want to do it?
Exactly. That's the question. Can you move to cloud? And the answer is no, because I have too much.
Yeah.
I was about to say the word that starts with she. Too much nonsense in your existing cluster, and this allows you to move your nonsense somewhere else.
Yep. Oh wait, why is that happening? That's not supposed to happen. All right. Sorry, my machine is taking off right now, so I'm trying to figure out what is going on. Oh, it's Chrome. It's always Chrome. Did I say that out loud? Sorry, Google. That's fine. But look at this. Look at this. 768 gig of RAM, almost 20 terabytes of raw data capacity per node.
But that's a node on which you're going to be creating VMs.
Correct.
Right? So you potentially need a lot.
Right. But still, when I talk to people, it's like, okay, how big is your underlying physical hardware? And it's like, oh, it's 64 gig. Why are you even doing virtualization?
Yeah, I mean, but if it's 64 gigs, everything that they have, all hardware together, then such a scenario, such a company doesn't have a real reason to go down this route. Just go straight to you have small operation, go straight directly to GKE, for example. Right. I mean, that's peanuts almost, kind of like it's small.
Yeah. Change up my sharing here again real quick. Integrated cloud networking, rich services, all the cool stuff. The link to this, I'm going to call it a press release, will be in the notes after the show today. And it'll also be out on our most beautiful website probably tomorrow. I'll talk more about that later. Because speed. Now, the one thing that I did see is that they are only servicing this right now in 2 regions, which seems reasonable, right?
It will depend on the demand. If a huge bank that pays a lot of is willing to pay a lot of money, they're gonna put it in whichever region they are. That's money moves stuff. They're probably, if I would be Google, I would probably do the same thing because I want to first see how big of a success that is. Right? Is it an investment worthwhile taking everywhere? Maybe it's not.
Yeah, and David had this comment here, move your sheep somewhere else.
Yes, that's precisely the thing. Have intermediary step towards wherever you want to go.
Yep. Okay. So that's the first thing. Go ahead.
I must say something that it's also a double-edged sword. I've been historically in the past sometimes very critical to those things, sometimes very positive, because it's a double-edged sword, because it also allows people to say, okay, so now we're in the cloud. We're finished, aren't we? So it allows people who are trying to defend the need for status quo, for no change, to kind of do the mandatory, okay, so I did this. Now can we go back to the previous state of not doing anything because now we're in cloud, right? So take it with a dose of caution, I would say.
Yeah, to me, if your plan is just to move your VMware workload out to Google and say that that's cloud, not a good idea. If you're moving your VMware workload to Google and it's like, hey, we've now moved it out of our physical data center into a hosted solution, that's okay, right? That's completely okay. Just, it's not cloud.
And there is another very important, I think, scenario is, let's say, imagine a company that moved 20% or 50%,
Yeah.
whatever the percentage, to Google for real. So no VMware in Google for real. Now, the problem that they're facing is that there is stuff that you cannot move to the real cloud. How do you communicate with that stuff, right? How do you speak from your Google GK cluster with your on-prem VMware ESX mainframe something else, right? So if you can move that something else only for the sake of the real deal, the real new stuff, being able to communicate with it, you already accomplished a lot. It enables you to use good stuff where it matters.
Okay. Are we good with this one for now?
Yes.
Next. Now, last week we talked about AWS's
Copilot.
Copilot. Thank you. I was going to try to give it a different adjective. We talked about Copilot a little bit afterwards. Like, one of the things with Copilot today is that you cannot specify a VPC. You can't. There's a number of things you can't do, and that's okay for a early release or first release type thing. I'm okay with that. And the more I thought about it, it's like, well, I really shouldn't care where my app is running, right? If I'm using something as a service, I shouldn't care about the VPC. I shouldn't care about those things. So there's a plus and minus to that. But this week, Docker integration with ACI and ECS. Now, this is interesting, right?
It's very interesting. If I would be using willingly, sometimes I use things unwillingly. If I would be using willingly ACI or ECS, I would jump into this. I think it's absolutely awesome. Because first of all, everybody's familiar with Docker. Second, you can actually do things more or less the same locally and in cloud. You can say, okay, my production is ACI, and my local development is my laptop, and I do Docker run here, Docker run there. Doesn't matter for me. It's all the same thing. You just different places where things are happening, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing if you do think, and here comes the important part, that ACI or ECS makes sense in the first place. If you do, this is amazing.
So it's as simple as Docker log in Azure, do a context list. I haven't tried this yet. So you create a context. You did? Did you do it on both?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So go ahead and talk about it while I'm sort of scrolling here.
Basically, ECS is a bit shaky. It's too green. So unless only for you getting familiar with it. But basically what it does in ECS in ACI is almost the same. So I spent much more time with ACI. Actually, this is kind of like semi-commercial. It's already included in the course. I just didn't publish it yet.
There you go. Oh, wait.
Faster than the lightning.
Wait, you mean the course that they can purchase from right here at DevOps Toolkit Series?
Yeah. Okay. It's not already there, but I finished the
recordings. Yeah. Okay. Oh, you haven't even recorded it yet. Okay. No. So, and we'll talk more about the course in a few minutes. But
anyways, let's go back, right?
Yeah.
So basically, it allows you to do almost everything that you would normally do with ACI, let's say.
Yeah.
But it puts you on a familiar tool, right? If you can do everything with Docker as you would do with the AZ something, why not Docker? Because you're probably already using it locally, right?
Right.
So why not use the same tool for both when running in ACI and running in locally? And same thing for ECS.
That's cool.
And it makes a lot of sense. I was at the beginning, I was kind of like, really? Kind of like, why? Why would you do this, Docker? But then I realized it makes a lot of sense because Docker is still somehow trapped into that I'm running a container, forget about scheduler type of stuff.
Right.
We had our scheduler, but we are not going to say it public, but nobody really wants to use it type of stuff. And we don't develop it anymore. Anyways, so Docker is still on a level of containers. And ACI is on a level of containers.
Yeah.
So basically just in case somebody listening here is not familiar, what ACI does is it offers you container as a service, but single replica container as a service. So it's literally container as a service. I don't know whether they're running Docker behind or something else, but it's not a scheduler. It will not scale up. It is not fault tolerant and all those things. It's literally equivalent of Docker container run, but without you worrying about hardware where that is happening.
So in that case, ACI is somewhat worse than ECS, would you say?
Yes.
Not worse, but it's not as feature rich.
Yes, it's not as feature rich. It's much better in terms of simplicity, but it is not as feature rich. Okay. I could argue that ECS is not very feature rich either, but that's a separate conversation probably. Yeah. Anyway, it's not feature rich. It's running a single replica containers. And when you phrase it like that, ACI is a single replica container. Yeah. What is the first association you have when somebody says run a container?
Yeah, run a container.
Docker,
yeah.
It's Docker, right? That's the first association. That's the best thing we have for running a container without a scheduler. That's the important part.
Yep. So the jury's out for the moment, right? This is obviously this was first. Awesome. It's awesome though, right? It's the first right step, because you may have some workloads that are not worthy of Kubernetes, right?
Yeah.
Let's use a real one here. Our website. There is no way I would spin up a Kubernetes cluster to run our website.
Yes.
Right? Contrived.
True.
Right.
But that's the wrong question.
Of course it is.
So,
of course it is.
So what you probably want is to say one of the many options, say, here is my website, run it, right?
Yeah.
But that does not exclude that if tomorrow some disaster happens and we happen to have millions of users, we wouldn't want our provider to scale it to more than one replica.
Right.
So I'm giving you a container in any case.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if you scale it when needed. Let's face it. No?
Right. Okay. So good enough for the moment?
Yes.
Next item is Cloud Development Kit for Terraform. Now, we were bashing on Amazon a while back. Wait, we bash on Amazon all the time. Or AWS, I should say. Get this a little bit. Oh, rats, wrong screen. Hang on a second, people. That is my fault. There we go. All right. So they had a CDK for CloudFormation, but now in a preview mode, they have it for Terraform. So for the example here, let's bump that up 2 more, make sure I'm still on the right screen. So you do some imports, you create this class, and then you write some code. This is Pulumi. You know my love for all things Pulumi.
Yeah.
But now, our initial beef with CDK was it was CloudFormation only. But now if they actually make it work with Terraform, this becomes more compelling to me.
Indeed. I'm always skeptical when Amazon decides to do something outside of its own walled garden. So I'm going to wait for half a year. But potentially, yes.
So this is sort of the first bit of news that we are talking about. So nothing real exciting about this other than that this is preview. If you've not looked at Pulumi before, take a look at it. But this may get more interesting over time. So, but this article or this section sort of leans into the next one. Victor, are you ready?
Yes. I don't know what is the next one, but I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Okay. Let's see.
It's the GA of Nomad.
Oh my.
Okay. Wait. Let me get... So, I'm not that familiar with Nomad. I haven't dug into it, so I'm going to stay as neutral as I can. I'm going to be Switzerland in this. But this one enterprise feature to me, I'm going to bump it up one more time. This one enterprise feature to me seems very, very interesting.
You lied to me, Darin.
Why?
You misled me. I thought it's multi-cluster deployment GA. Everybody has multi-cluster beta. There is beta in Kubernetes for 3 years already.
Okay.
Federation and then Anthos. Everybody has a beta. I thought kind of, oh, that would be the first one to actually proclaim that something is GA. Shame on you. You messed.
Well, okay. So let's see how you feel about this one that I have highlighted. In contrast, Mesos and Kubernetes are 2-layer. I don't understand what they mean by that specifically. But having to maintain and create new clusters on top of existing clusters to get federation. I mean, what are they doing that? I mean, I see always one of my favorite phrases, simple and elegant. Anytime I see the word elegant used in technology, that automatically gets my ears perked up, and not in a good way.
Okay, I put my head now. Now I'm elegant as well. I'm elegant as well. Look.
Yes.
I honestly don't. I honestly don't know because I haven't been following Nomad for a couple of years. That's the truth. I have no idea, and I'm just simply questioning, given the gravity of Kubernetes,
why
it would need to be some breakthrough. Something, it cannot be just something that is slightly better or slightly worse or slightly different than what we have in Kubernetes.
Yeah.
And I'm in no way saying that this is not better type to do multi-cluster than but it needs to be hell of a better. It needs to be drastically better for me to ignore the gravity, the black hole that Kubernetes is, and to avoid being sucked in.
Yeah.
It's just a bit too late.
Is it this one line here to where it says the federation extends to application deployment? So you just say deploy, and it takes care of deploying seamlessly.
Yeah.
Right?
And
they have a whole...
That's what Anthos is trying to do, right?
That is what Anthos is trying to do.
It's cool. It's great. It just... it's in the same bucket as Mesos. I mean, so what is symptomatic to me, if you go back at the beginning where they mentioned the Kubernetes and Mesos.
Right here.
So why are you mentioning Mesos? And why is it first one on that list?
Versus
so kind
Kubernetes.
Are you really trying to offer me something that is better working than Mesos, which I don't want to use anyways? If you understand what I mean. So
I know
it's a wrong message.
Yeah. But the good, bad, or indifferent, it's an interesting story. Right?
Yes.
Right.
And Hashi is amazing. It's one of the top 3-5 companies in the world right now in my head. So Hashi is amazing. Full respect for HashiCorp. It's just that, and let me actually say why full respect for HashiCorp. Because most companies that become successful, they become successful with the product, whichever that product is.
Yeah.
Almost no company manages to get beyond the first successful product, to have 2 successful products. Yeah. You usually have many failures to get to 2. And Hashi is beyond 2.
Yes.
Right? I don't know any company that is the size of HashiCorp that has so many successful products and so few failures. So Vagrant is amazing, even though nobody's using it today, right? Packer is amazing, even though it's dubious whether you want to use it, right? I mean, some things get overridden with time. Vault, it's a standard. It's industry standard for secrets, right? What else? Terraform. I mean, come on. That's the only tool in that area that matters today.
Yeah.
And what else do we have? And then, yes, they have Console, which is amazing, but I see no usage for it. And they have Nomad, which is probably good, but a bit too late, right? So yeah, 2 or 3 failures and then many more successes. That's amazing. Nobody did that.
Yeah, let me just to give them a fair shake of everything we just talked about. So the stack: Terraform, Vault, Console, Nomad, and they don't even call out
2 against 2.
Yeah, and they don't call out Vagrant. They don't call out the other things that I still consider useful.
Yeah,
maybe not important, but very useful. So, Hashi, we love you. Maybe it's that we just don't understand Nomad. Right? Could that be it?
Yeah.
Could we be wrong? We could be.
And again, I like to speak about console instead of Nomad because I'm much more familiar with console. Yeah. But they're in the same bucket. Console is an amazing piece of software. It's actually better than etcd. So it's better than etcd. It's better than what Kubernetes has. But still not good enough for me to use it alongside etcd. Same thing for Nomad.
Yeah. They brought this, is changing everything for those that subscribe to their way of working, and that's key. If you fall into, this is what happened to Red Hat, this is what happened with Apple, this is what happened with Microsoft, Hashi's becoming that next standard bearer. That might be a stretch, but it's pretty reasonable, right?
But it's also dangerous because maybe I'm misinterpreting David's message there, sentence. Yeah. But I think that they're maybe pushing a bit too much for you to use everything instead of only the parts you like. Right? They're making that tighter and tighter integration that you cannot avoid using console, right? You might not soon be able to avoid using Nomad if you want to use the rest of the things because somehow Nomad in that ecosystem will work better, right? It's maybe a similar story like Apple, right? Yeah. I mean, those smart speakers from Apple, I mean, everybody agrees. I mean, I'm pretty sure that privately Tom Cook would say, this is garbage. But are you making that face because you like it and you have it? No.
I do have it, but I don't have the cool speakers. I've still got my old, plug it all in type stuff. So. But, it kind of forces you to use everything, which is good from business strategy until you decide that actually, but it's double-edged sword because you might say, I don't want to use Nomad, and then I have to go and look for alternative to Vault because you're tying me too much to right. So do we step into opinionated software and opinionated stacks?
No.
Yes. You want to step into that?
No, okay.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that. So that's sort of the news items for today, at least for now. Let's go back through some of the questions. And for the people here, let me go back to the top here. Okay, so, whoops, that's me. Alex, we'll come back to your question in a moment, Alex. We had Gokul was here. He's new. Alexandru, he's new. And I think that might be it. Okay, so let's go back to the top question from Alex. I have a question about how to secure and protect Kubernetes from DDoS. Do you want the short answer?
Yes, go with the short answer.
Don't connect it to a network.
Yeah, don't connect it to internet.
Don't connect. Yeah. Well, I was going to say connect it to a network because you could have a bad actor even if you're on a network. So.
Yeah, but you can alarm your security and say nobody gets out of the building.
Okay, the real answer. I don't know.
So, I mean,
how do you protect anything from DDoS?
I know, so I can provide part of the answer. So it's not my main area of interest. So there might be many different better solutions or complementary, but the best thing you can do from my limited experience is actually to have some sort of throttling, right?
Yeah.
So what you really want to do is to make sure that your applications are not receiving more requests than they can handle, right? Because that's really what DDoS is doing. It's kind of bombing you until it reaches the level that you cannot handle. And some sort of throttling tends to work fine. That might not enable your users to use your application during DDoS,
right,
but it will not crash your system, which is the real objective of DDoS.
Right.
And like Istio, every service mesh basically more or less has throttling. You can say, okay, throttle my requests based on this criteria, or even Ingress do throttling now. I think that Nginx Ingress can do throttling, and providers are also giving you, if you're in AWS, I know that Google is giving you throttling as well for the requests specifically for DDoS. I think that others as well. So that might not be the only thing you should do, but that's the thing I've been doing, and it works well.
Yeah, it's all about having that gating mechanism, whether it's throttling or some other. In the end, it's always some sort of throttle, right? That's some sort of adaptive throttle that takes care of it.
I mean, ideally, you would prevent sources of DDoS to actually access you in the first place, block them, right?
Yeah.
I just don't know whether that can be done and how, because they're highly dynamic. They're really jumping everywhere.
Yeah, because if you're getting DDoSed, your cluster probably isn't the only thing that's getting DDoSed within your network. There's probably other things too. So it's usually a bigger answer. One question from Gokul is the DevOps Toolkit Kubernetes current?
Yes, huge yes. Huge yes.
Is it? It is.
I think it is because for a couple of reasons. First, because people are not. It's been a long time since anybody told me that something doesn't work, and Kubernetes is not really changing yet. So fundamentals of Kubernetes, or the important parts of Kubernetes, are the same for a long time, and they're probably not going to change drastically in the future, because I think it's much bigger focus now on the ecosystem around Kubernetes than Kubernetes itself. Now, what you might find is that I might have missed, like, for example, some months ago, I updated, a while ago actually, I updated deployment definitions to be from V1 beta 2, let's say, to V1, right?
Right.
So API version of some resource might not be the latest, but outside of that, it's up to date. And this is now important part. If anybody finds something besides me finding that, I will fix it. So I'm committed on maintaining it.
Yep. Hey, there's Moz. Moz is back. We missed you, Moz. We haven't seen you in a couple weeks. Or if you were here, I'm sorry, and I forgot to say it. So, David just posted this to me. This is interesting, and I saw it come through, David. I just haven't flipped over to there yet. So there's now a CKS cert. Now, if you were here last week, we talked about certifications. If you can leverage a certification to get better pay, go for it. If you want to get a certification just because you want to, go for it. But, what was your or?
You know, in cases like Kubernetes security cert, that actually might make sense beyond the use cases that you mentioned, because those things are fairly new, that learning it through certification might make more sense. Like learning AWS through certification, I mean, there are so many resources that you can learn it in 5,000 different ways. So certification might not be the best way to learn it, right? But Kubernetes security, that's very scarce still. The number of books and the tutorials and stuff like that is very limited. That reminds me, we should do something about that, Dari.
Yeah, and this also goes back to the question that we just got from Alex, right, of how to prevent DDoS, right? That would sort of be built on top of this, right? That it would be adjacent to this.
Yeah.
So, in fact,
and I see that David just posted a new comment. I think that we are aligned there.
Yeah,
yes, I agree. For this specific case, I agree.
So be ready for this one, maybe, once it goes GA. Maybe. I don't know.
Exactly.
It's
exactly.
I think that's the thing about a lot of certifications. If you get them right when they come out, they're useful. But if you get it 4 years afterwards, okay, it's fine that you did, but see this one, minimize microservice vulnerabilities. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that tip. What did he put here? I'm not going to push people to get V certified to work on GCP. Yeah. Okay. What else do we have? We got through the news. We had some questions. Oh, you know what I haven't actually talked about yet is the survey. Right. So let's talk about if you haven't taken the survey yet, and if you don't know what the survey is, while Victor is talking about it, I'm going to pull it up.
Yeah, it's actually I'm embarrassed a bit to talk about it because we still haven't picked the subject from the survey, but there is a really good excuse because we created a survey when we already started working on serverless, right? And we still haven't finished. It turned out to be much bigger than I thought. Right. Actually, I think that the serverless part of the course and the book will be probably the size of a book itself. Anyways, but yes, we will, once we finish serverless, and by finishing serverless means 4 more things as a minimum.
Yep.
Google Cloud Run, ACI, Azure Container Instances, which we mentioned, and ECS, which we mentioned at the beginning, right?
Yep.
And Knative. I thought to skip Knative, but then a lot of people said Knative, and I think it's awesome. So, and after that, we're going to pick whichever one has the most votes over there. And when we finish that one, we're going to pick whichever is the second most votes, and so on and so forth.
Yep. And there is, if nothing's covered that you like, at the very bottom, freeform, type it in.
Yes. Yes.
Do you think we're going to cover Copilot and the Docker stuff?
It depends.
I mean, you said you wrote it up, at least the Docker stuff, maybe not Copilot, but.
So Docker stuff with ACI is already in the, in ACI is already included. Okay. In ECS, I had, it's too green. I had too many issues with it. So it will most likely be included, but not in this batch.
Right. Okay. Let's see. What else do we have here that I forgot about? We already showed that. We talked about that. Oh, if you haven't joined the Slack workspace yet, like David sent me a message while we were live here, go join up the Slack workspace. Easy. DevOpsParadox.com/Slack, free account. Go join the podcast channel. Sort of weird that we have a podcast channel and we're doing this on a live stream, but that's okay. And let's see, what were the other big newses this week? I saw a couple other things, but I didn't write them down. Let me see here. Nope, I don't see. Nope. I don't know. How's the weather in Spain? Does it lie mainly? You're muted. Does it lie mainly on the plane? You're muted again.
Yeah, again. I didn't go out, so I don't know. I'm waiting for this session to finish, and then I'm having a car ride and then going out of the city. It's very warm in my room, so it must be very warm outside.
Outside, yeah.
I don't have air conditioning.
You don't have air conditioning?
Yeah, I don't have many things. It's a new apartment, so.
Oh. Still. Air conditioning? I can't. No, I have to have air conditioning.
Yeah, I'm in a tiny room with kind of like 7 different lights around me. I'm boiling. You have no idea.
Dude, you need LEDs. Or you're not using LED lights, are you?
I am, but still that and
still
computers
warm.
And.
But anyway, okay. So let's talk about what's coming up on the podcast this week, right?
Yes.
Because this is actually this week's episode, which hasn't been published yet. It'll be out on Wednesday. In fact, let me go and share this again real quick. If you haven't listened to this week's episode about the podcast, do we really want to use serverless? If you haven't listened to this, go take a listen to it over the weekend in all your spare time. I hope you have a little bit of spare time. The short answer is yes, maybe you should.
It's not maybe. Yes, definitely yes. Absolutely no doubt. There is no maybe. There is a huge maybe about FAS, functions as a service. And if you go, okay, yeah, entertain people.
What?
Entertain people.
Oh, you want me to entertain people? Okay, so
Yeah.
go listen to this. But next week, we talk about the actual functions as a service, the big three, and we take them head to head. So that's coming out this coming Wednesday on the 22nd, which is a day before my birthday. Are you still typing?
Yeah, I just sent you a link so that you can put it. Just show the thumbnail and you will see what I think about functions as a service.
Okay, here. Okay, so now you have to, because I'm going to not
No, I recorded
live.
I put a couple of videos from some of the recordings of the course and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I did notice that.
But I'm proud of the thumbnail. It tells you everything I think about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is safe. Okay, hang on a second. Here, let me make it not so. There we go. All right, so let me go ahead and share this back again. Yeah, if you didn't see the, okay, well, I was trying to trim out some of the noise, but here, let's just make it big. Manage fast, not for me. Now, this is on the DevOps Toolkit series. Dude, why don't we do that? Okay, never mind. On the DevOps Toolkit series channel, I just looked at your numbers on this one. It's 525. It's like, crud. Why don't we have that many here? Our numbers are getting better. But you've been around longer too. Your channel's been around.
Yeah.
That channel's been around for quite a while. Okay, so manage fast, not for me. I still think there's a few use cases to where it could be used.
Yeah, there are use
a
cases.
few. Yeah.
I think that if there would be more space, I would write not for me, except in a small number of cases. Yeah. But then it doesn't fit well on a picture.
It doesn't fit as well. Yeah. We need to slide that around too. But anyway, that looks good. I need you to start doing the thumbnails for these.
Yeah.
In all your spare
I can
time.
show you. It's a service. I'll show you.
Which one are you using?
Canva.
Oh, I'm using Canva too.
There you go. You just take a screenshot,
okay.
You slap some text on top of it, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm also using TubeBuddy for all the YouTube stuff, but that's another thing. All right, so that's what we'll do. Sorry, but, we're just sort of talking here. It's Friday afternoon. By the way, if you didn't crack open your adult beverage today, mine is water. I don't know what you have today. Soda? Is that lemonade?
It's a Bradler. I don't know. How do you call it in US? It's a beer with lemonade.
Beer with lemonade.
Yeah, that didn't reach US?
I don't drink beer, so I don't know. It probably is.
Okay.
It's probably a fruit type beer.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. Anyway, it's what you drink when it's extremely hot, and basically it's a substitute for water, and you don't get drunk.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay.
Fast.
All right. So David, explain this. Need a service to transcribe, analyze, prioritize, and score podcast blogs and tweets. Are you talking about there needs to be a service so the real news can be part? But how do you do the training of that kind of prediction algorithm? I don't know.
And what do you do when you're faced with the challenge of having to transcribe somebody with my accent?
Yeah, well, okay. So the transcripts, fortunately, we use Otter for the transcripts for the podcast. We won't transcribe these live streams because, number one, I don't have the time to clean them up afterwards. But it's gotten better with yours. But when we do guest, for our guests if you've been a guest on our podcast before, close your ears for a moment. Most of the guests have been hard as well because it's usually the first time hearing. But we've got a guest coming up that's in a couple of weeks that it was almost perfect. I was like, I love doing guest episodes, but it usually means more work on the back end for me for doing the edit. and was perfect. I was like, oh, this is so good. I could cry, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm not the big brain. Trust me, I am not the big brain. If it's
You're the brain behind this operation.
Well, I punch the buttons, but it's no brain. But anyway, what else do we have? In fact, if we don't have anything else, we might finish up a little bit early today, just because I've got a few more things to get done today. I still have to record some sessions for the day job, so I need to grab a quick bite before I get started on that. So your next big thing is to finish up all the serverless stuff you're currently working on.
Yes. Google Cloud Run is coming this weekend. That's given because the only thing missing is to assemble the clips, recordings.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Let me see. Let me open up. I don't know if I can do this or not. Let's try this. Have you ever checked to see if that course ended up in Udemy for Business?
I have no idea.
I haven't checked either.
You can go to our companies.
Yeah. And we'll look it up there.
Just look it up, yeah.
Okay, here. So let me go ahead and share the screen here. And so...
Is this business?
No, this is just general.
Okay.
Come on, I'm trying to click. Okay, so if you haven't bought the course yet, go buy the course.
And expense it to your manager.
And expense it to your manager. Yeah, highest rated. Thank you. I wonder if we're the highest rated for anything DevOps. Here, let's just do it live. No, we're not the highest rated. Oh, for DevOps catalog, we were highest rated. But that's okay. What we want... Hey, shameless plug or shameless ask. We were highest rated. We also want this bestseller one there too.
Yeah.
Go tell your friends. Go tell your friends to go buy it and charge it to their manager too. It's like we don't make much off of the courses. It's a fun thing, but
so kind of in my case, literally most of that money goes for pizzas and equipment. Like I bought Elgato key lights, right? That was the last month's.
You got the Elgato key lights? You didn't tell me that. Yeah. Those things are great, man.
They're great. They're really great.
That's what I'm saving up for. Not next. I got three. That's like third on the list for me for some other stuff. But yeah, I really like them. But you know, I've got lights now that just work, so I don't care. It helps fund some of these things, and this is also working the classes through Udemy is helping us learn how we don't want to sell courses too.
Exactly.
But it's okay for the content we have right now. I think it's good. It's a fine platform, and you know, it's helping us think through some other things as well. So if you haven't picked it up yet, go do that. There's also book versions of it if you'd rather go through the book. And let's see if it is on Udemy for Business, because
I checked it.
Can't. It's not.
The other two are there. It takes time.
It does take time.
You need to have certain rankings, certain number of people, and then you might get selected. But they did include the previous two, so there is no reason I can imagine that this one won't
show up there at some point. Yeah, and right now it's priced pretty well. So okay. Well, do you want to call that a day? Does anybody else have any questions? So if anybody else has any questions, this is your last chance to get them in for today. We will be back next week. Or you're around next week, right?
Yes, I will be here.
I wasn't sure if
Friday for sure. And any other recording we might have, I might be with the crappy microphone, but Friday.
Yeah, fine. That's fine. So Neil, I may have missed this, but did you announce the next topic? The answer is no. Other than deeper in serverless, right?
Yes. Okay. So you can say that containers as a service is a topic in itself. It's just under that huge umbrella of serverless. And then it will be serverless on-prem. And then whatever is the highest voted on the survey. Okay. So Containers as a service is coming next.
Is next. So currently, it's just think of it this way: most people confuse serverless with functions as a service on a cloud provider. That's not what serverless is, at least our definition of it. Serverless is something to where you're not. Oh, go ahead.
Here's a spoiler. Let's say spoiler for something you haven't seen.
Okay.
But I might argue that actually, after we explore a couple of containers as a service, flavors of serverless, I might declare some of them or even all not to be serverless. It might happen.
It might happen. It might happen.
You might have heard their names in this episode if you paid attention.
It's very possible. Things can happen. But Cloud Run is the next big one.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Cloud Run is my favorite service today.
Okay, so why do you say that? And this is how we'll sort of end up for the day. Why is Cloud Run so great?
Because it allows me to do almost everything I can imagine that I want to do. I like packaging my applications as container images and giving it to somebody to run it. Mm-hmm. It does. Yep. I like being able to scale up and down. And I like being able to decide what can my application handle. That's one of my biggest problems with functions as a service. One instance, one replica per request. That's sometimes great, sometimes horribly bad. Mm-hmm. This allows me so much more tweaking without really making it complicated than a functions as a service. I can say, okay, you know what? Create an instance, create a replica for every 1,000 requests, concurrent requests. That makes much more sense in my head. Yeah. I can use any framework. I can use any programming language. I can do anything that can be packaged in a container image, almost.
Right.
And that's just awesome. And this is now the biggest part. I must have mentioned many times in different podcasts and here as well how I'm afraid of being locked in, right?
Yep.
But Cloud Run is Knative. Literally, I can take my Cloud Run definition and run it in Azure tomorrow, mm-hmm. or AWS or on-prem. I can run it wherever there is Knative.
Right.
And Knative is open source, it's open standard, all the stuff. It's just awesome.
So, Cloud Run, that's the next big thing. At least from the list. From the list. You
know, you might not be able to manage state if it's inside of your application. It's not really a solution for everything, but stateless applications, no brainer. Just put it there.
No reason to not. So if you're running completely stateless, you've externalized all of your state, right? You're using a managed service for your database of whatever. Use Google, be done with it. Or use Cloud Run. Give them your image, set up the parameters, and of course all this will be covered in the section of the course about Cloud Run.
Yeah.
Your life, because that way you're not fighting with freaking, if you were a startup today, we haven't talked about this before. If you were a startup today, would you go straight to Kubernetes or would you pick Cloud Run?
I would, for some things, not necessarily for everything, I would go for Cloud Run. But the question is misleading. And
that's the
thing. Because in both cases, it's Kubernetes.
Yes.
The question is, what is the level of control I want to give to somebody? I can say, GKE is too, I don't have enough control. I'm going to run it on-prem, right? Because I want to tweak it to that, right? Or you can say, okay, actually, even GKE is too little. Right? I want a layer on top of it, which would be Cloud Run. So it's always Kubernetes, and now we're choosing what level of service you want. Cloud Run, GKE, your own stuff, or anything in between.
Yep. But if I'm just trying to get features out and try to build my revenue, the last thing I want to do is manage a Kubernetes cluster myself.
Yes, that's just silly.
It doesn't mean that I might not in the future. But day 100, probably not.
So we all agree that if there are no impediments, sometimes there are impediments, you cannot move to cloud. But if you're going to cloud and you're not and you're not using managed Kubernetes, that's just
dumb.
I was about to say stupid, but that's offensive, so silly.
Silly. Okay. I said dumb, so that was even more offensive, I think.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We're almost to the top of the hour. No other questions came in during that last section, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up for today. Don't know the time for next week yet. Still waiting on getting schedules squared away, so, but it'll probably still be in this 12 to 2-ish area Eastern time, sometime ballpark. Now that your new role has sort of kept going, things are a little different.
I'm a manager. It sounds horrifying.
And by the way, in case anybody's curious, Victor is not my manager. That would not be a good thing.
No. I'm not really managing anything. Just to kind of, I have such a strong engineering background. Kind of, that's what I do, right? That I don't know if anybody. So you, Darin, know, other people don't. That I've been a product manager for like 3 months, right?
Yeah,
maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Kind of yesterday, I was the first time that I had courage to update my LinkedIn. I had sufficient courage to put it in my job description in LinkedIn.
And that also means that I need to update your bio now because your bio is out of date on the site. By the way, if you missed the site earlier, if you got in a little bit late today, check out our where am I at? Check out our brand new, straight from 2000 website. We're straight out of LA or Compton.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So were you in a hospital recently, Darin?
No. Why?
No, because I thought that's where the inspiration comes. It's a hospital wall type of color.
Dude, hospital walls in the States do not look like this.
No? Okay.
No. They're very, very beige on a good one.
Okay.
But anyway, if you haven't done that, and also, by the way, if you've not signed up for our email list, we don't talk about this much, but if you want to get a notification via email, now I know email sucks, but if you could, pop in your name and email, that'd be great. Or if you go specifically to a page, I moved it down towards the bottom because it was really annoying me at the top after about 3 days. So I pushed it down to where it's not as loud, but I'll probably end up moving it back up somewhere a little bit closer. I haven't decided yet, but we'll figure that out. So for everybody else, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week. And if you have any questions, by the way, let's go ahead and do this one more time. If you haven't joined up the Slack workspace yet, go sign up at the Slack workspace, join the podcast channel, chat with us over there. And if anything pops up during the week, you're like, hey, I'd like you guys to discuss this, go ahead and drop it in the podcast channel. We'll add it to our list for the week, and we'll go from there. So thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Be safe out there. If you're supposed to be wearing a mask, go wear your mask. Just wear the mask. It's fine. Well, I won't get into the politics of it. Just wear the mask. See you later, Victor. See you, everybody. Have a great weekend. And with that, I punch the button now.